At 1:12 a.m., something knocked from underneath the cabin, slow, steady, like a fist hitting wood from the wrong side. I sat up instantly, heart racing, and listened as the knocking moved along the floorboards, traveling beneath me as if it was searching for the exact spot where I was lying. Then it stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the fog outside the window. I told myself it was just the lake, just water and old timber, but I couldn't explain what happened next. My phone lit up on the bedside table. No signal, no notifications, just one line of text on a blank screen. "Don't look at the water." I stared at it until the screen went dark. When I tried to unlock it, it wouldn't respond. Outside, the lake was completely still, covered in a thin gray mist, like a sheet pulled tight. And out there, far beyond the deck, a single white light hovered over the water. It didn't drift. It didn't flicker, waited. I watched it for a full minute, refusing to blink, because I had this horrible feeling that if I looked away, it would move closer. I raised my phone to record. The camera crashed. The screen went black. When it came back, the light was closer. I hadn't looked away, I swear. That night, I couldn't sleep. The cabin had the usual lake noises, water tapping the posts, wind in the trees, but there was another sound underneath it, faint and rhythmic, like slow knocking. I told myself it was a loose board. At 1:12 a.m., the knocking stopped. The silence after it was louder than any noise. I sat up and stared through the window. Fog pressed against the glass like breath. Then, from somewhere out on the lake, I heard a single splash. Not a fish, not random. One clean splash, like a person stepping into water. I froze, waiting for another. Instead, I heard something that made my stomach turn. A child's laugh. Short, soft, and too close. I stepped onto the deck with my torch. The beam cut through fog and showed only water and the black shapes of trees. Then the torch flickered. For a second, the light died completely. And in that darkness, I heard it again knocking, except now, it wasn't under the cabin. It was coming from the lake itself, like someone tapping on the surface from below. I backed inside and locked the door, feeling stupid. But the lock clicked twice, as if someone tested it from outside. In the morning, my cousin laughed at me. "Mate, you're jet lagged," he said, pouring coffee like nothing existed beyond the cabin walls. I tried to explain the light and the laughter, but he shrugged and told me Lake Caddo was full of strange echoes. He left again after lunch, and I decided to prove to myself I was being paranoid. I rented a small kayak and pushed into the inlet. The fog had lifted, revealing water the color of old tea. Every few meters, dead tree trunks rose out of the lake like broken teeth. I paddled toward where I'd seen the light, checking the shoreline for any dock or buoy. There was nothing. Halfway across, my paddle hit something solid beneath the surface. It wasn't wood. It felt like metal. I leaned over and saw a shape just under the water, long and pale. At first, I thought it was a log. Then it moved slowly against the current. A line of bubbles rose beside it, like someone exhaling. I pulled back hard, nearly tipping. The water rippled, and for a moment, I saw a human hand just below the surface. Fingers open, reaching upward. I screamed and paddled toward shore, heart hammering. When I reached the dock, my phone rang. Unknown number, no signal bars. I answered without thinking. A voice whispered, "Don't look at the water tonight." I stood there holding the phone like it was burning my skin. "Who is this?" I demanded, but the call ended. When I checked my recent calls, there was nothing, no record, no missed number, as if it never happened. I tried to leave the cabin after that. I actually packed my bag and walked to the car. The moment I opened the driver's door, the lake went silent again. Even the insects stopped. The air felt heavy, thick with moisture. Then the car alarm blared by itself, deafening in the stillness. I slammed the door, fumbling for the key, but the alarm didn't stop. It kept screaming until the cabin lights flickered and went out. The alarm died instantly, as if something had cut power to everything at once. I stared at the dark cabin and felt an awful certainty settle in my chest. The lake didn't want me leaving. I went back inside, shaking. That afternoon, I found an old visitor's logbook in a drawer, damp and swollen from humidity. The last entry was months old, but the next blank page wasn't blank anymore. My name was written at the top in neat handwriting. Under it, today's date. Under that, a sentence. You saw the light. Now it sees you. Dropped the book and stepped back. The floorboards creaked behind me, slow and deliberate, like footsteps. I spun around, expecting my cousin, but the cabin was empty. The footsteps continued anyway, one step. Pause, another, moving toward the back bedroom. I grabbed a kitchen knife, because it was the only thing within reach that made me feel less helpless. Hello, I called, hating how small my voice sounded. No answer. The footsteps stopped. Then the tapping started again, but not from below. It came from the window. Tap, tap, tap. I approached slowly and pulled the curtain back a fraction. Outside, pressed against the glass, was a wet palm print. Fresh. Water dripped down the pane. I stared at it, frozen, then looked lower and saw more prints, like someone had climbed up from the lake and placed both hands on the window to peer in. But there was no face, just fog. The print slid downward slightly, as if whatever made them was slowly sinking. I stumbled away, knife shaking in my grip. At dusk, my cousin returned and found me sitting in the middle of the room with all the lights on. I begged him to leave. He rolled his eyes and said, I was letting stories get into my head. Then he opened the curtain to show me there was nothing outside. The moment the curtain moved, the lake light appeared again, closer than ever, directly in line with our deck. My cousin went quiet. That wasn't there earlier, he whispered. The light blinked once, like a slow wink. We watched it for a full minute. It didn't drift. It didn't bob. It just hovered above the fog, too steady to be a lantern on water. My cousin grabbed his phone and tried to zoom in. The screen went static and the camera app crashed. Mine did the same. The light blinked again, and this time the fog around it parted slightly, revealing a shape beneath, something dark and tall, like a person standing in the water without sinking. My cousin stepped onto the deck, calling out, "Hey, who's out there?" His voice sounded swallowed by the fog. The lake answered with that same childlike laugh, louder now, almost excited. My cousin's face drained of color. "That's not funny," he said, but his tone wasn't angry. It was scared. Then, from inside the cabin, the visitor's logbook slammed shut on its own. We both jumped. I ran to the desk and saw the book had opened to a different page, an older entry. A name, a date. Under it, one sentence: "It imitates what you trust." Before I could ask what that meant, my cousin's phone rang. Unknown number. He stared at the screen, then answered. His expression changed instantly, like someone had whispered a secret into his ear. He turned to me slowly and said, in a voice that wasn't quite his, "Come outside. It's safe." I knew, deep in my bones, that whatever was on the phone wasn't my cousin's friend, and whatever had spoken through him wasn't my cousin either. His eyes looked glassy, unfocused, as if he was sleepwalking. He took one step toward the deck door. I grabbed his arm and pulled him back. He resisted with surprising strength, jaw clenched, repeating the same sentence. "It's safe. It's safe." The lake light blinked again, and the cabin lights dimmed in response, like the whole place was breathing with it. The tapping returned, this time on the cabin door, slow, patient. Tap, tap, tap. My cousin stopped struggling and turned his head toward the sound, smiling faintly like he recognized whoever was outside. I dragged him into the bathroom and locked the door. He banged on it once, then went quiet. For a moment, I thought he'd snapped out of it. Then he whispered through the door, calm and gentle, "It knows your name. It wrote it down. You can't hide in here." Odd and cold. I looked at the mirror and saw something behind me, not a face. Not a ghost, just a darker patch of fog in the reflection, shaped like a human outline, standing where the shower curtain should be. The outline leaned closer. The bathroom light flickered. I shut my eyes and screamed. When I opened them, the outline was gone, but the shower curtain was dripping wet. I don't remember leaving the cabin. I only remember deciding that staying meant dying, or worse, becoming whatever my cousin was becoming. I forced the bathroom window open and climbed out, scraping my arms on the frame. The air outside was freezing. Fog wrapped around me instantly. I ran barefoot through wet grass toward the car, guided only by the faint outline of the road. Behind me, the lake laughed again, soft, playful, cruel. The car door was unlocked. The keys were in the ignition, Even though I knew I'd taken them earlier, I didn't question it. I started the engine, and the headlights cut through fog just enough to show the lake at my side. The light was no longer far away. It was right there, beside the road, hovering over the water like an eye. As I drove, it moved with me, matching my speed. I kept my gaze forward, refusing to look at it directly. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. The screen lit up anyway, displaying one line of text as if it were a message typed by my own hands. Look down. I gripped the wheel tighter and whispered, "No." The lake light blinked once, and my engine stalled. The car rolled to a stop. In the silence, I heard tapping from beneath the car, slow and rhythmic, like someone knocking from under the road. I turned the key again, and, again, nothing. Then the fog outside. The window shaped itself into a handprint on the glass. From the lake, a voice whispered, "Answer the light."